So you know how I said, for those of you, any of you who stayed on the channel because of my Fortnite review, thank you all. It was truly a fun project, but don't expect me to make more Fortnite videos, unless Epic does something that gets my attention back into the game. Yeah, well, Epic actually did something interesting, so... As of recording, Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 3 is officially started with a lot of new changes to the map, weapons, and a lot more content. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. The theme for this season is peace. Since the 7 won the war, the people on the island are celebrating that the war is basically over. Not only that, but the exposed 0 point fucked up the island again, which basically made it a sequel to the Primal season. So without further ado, this is my first impressions on Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 3. Okay, let's cut the intro bullshit. As of recording, Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 3 came out like a week ago, and I wanted to talk about this season since a lot of content came out, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot. So this video will be sort of my first impressions on the new Fortnite season. Just like usual, the video will be divided into different categories, which I will mention what's new in the season and what's my first impressions on the thing within the categories, such as weapons, items, locations, etc. Just like my last Fortnite review, after every category I'll rate the category from 0 to 5, with 0 being absolutely appalling and 5 being great, and at the end, I will give an overall score on this season, at least for now, because the season can become better or worse. Also, just like my last video, everything I say about this season is my opinion. It could be a bad one, but it's an opinion nonetheless. Timestamps will be linked in the description, so you can go to whatever category you want, but I recommend watching the video throughout its entirety before forming an opinion. As always, I'm ready to hear anyone's opinions on the video, so comment down below what you thought about this video. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Let's start where I left off from the last video. Chapter 3 Season 2, the collision event was going to happen soon. The IO made the collider, which come to find out was a doomsday device powered by the 0 point, which according to the simulation we saw in one of the quests, it would quite literally destroy the entire loop. Okay, hold on. Before we go any further, can I just point out how stupid the plan was? What was the point of fighting all this time if they were just going to explode the map anyway? I seriously don't get the plan. Anyways, to prevent that, the 7 found the broken remains of the mech from Chapter 1 Season 9, and they fixed it, so we and the Paradigm could go to the collider and destroy it before it exploded the 0 point. I was kind of excited, but considering my opinions on the last season, I wasn't really having any high expectations, especially because there was no live event for Chapter 3 Season 1. But the event itself was really cool. Like usual, Epic goes above and beyond to make their events look cool. I liked how interactive the event was, where me and the other players could shoot with different rockets and run around and shoot IO henchmen, etc. My key favorite moments in the event were when we saw the outside of the loop for the very first time. It was very interesting as we never really got to see much outside of the loop itself. I also liked it when Peely drove to us to give us a chug splash. Kind of reminded everyone that we taught him how to drive. What the f***? Peely! It's Peely! I honestly hope he got rewarded with a medal for saving us back there. Seriously, without Peely, the loop as we know it would have been gone. I absolutely loved it when the giant mech pulled out a sword like an anime character and proceeded to destroy all the blimps, like it used the sword from Chapter 1 Season 7. And my last favorite moment was when the 0 point cycled through different realities and hinting at what's to come for the next season. It's so fun to look back at the event, seeing all the clues given to us at what's to come for the season. And finally, we got to see the mysterious Geno, or at least the outline of him. Geno or Genos? I can't really remember. Jones and the Foundation went to pursue him. I'm still a little bit confused about what happened to Dr. Sloan. Some say she died, others say she somehow survived, but honestly, it was very weird to see her go like that. Pretty embarrassing if I do say so myself. And at the end of the event, they finally added a to be continued screen, which is obviously for downtime to prepare the game for the next season, while generating hype for the next season, which I totally respect and love that they did. When the season started, there was obviously a queue since a lot of players were trying to see what's new in the season, but when I finally went into the lobby, the start was very good. Everything was working just as it should, compared to the last season where everything was bugged at the start of the season and was delayed for a couple of hours. Since I forgot to rate the last season in my previous video, I'll give Chapter 3 Season 2 a 2 out of 5. The season was horrible, and I was going to give it a 1 out of 5, but the live event made it somewhat better, so it's getting 2 out of 5 from me. As for the start of this season, I'll give this category a 5 out of 5. I personally had no issues before and after the start of this new season, and we also got a lot new content compared to the last season. So yeah, the start of the season was absolutely amazing. Let's go over to the map. I mean, it's the first thing you see when you jump out of the battle bus. Wait, hold on. Why is the Daily Bugle still on the map? Yeah, so usually collab locations like Stark Industries last for only 1 season, but the Daily Bugle has been there for almost 3 seasons, and a lot of people are curious as to what other potential the location has. I was going to theorize about how the Daily Bugle could be a volcano or something else. Come to find out, in the latest Fortnite comic called Fortnite x Marvel Zero War, the first issue, we find out from Spider-Man that the Daily Bugle has recently disappeared into a different universe. The universe Spider-Man seems to describe as, quote, "It's a different universe. The place where every reality came from," end quote. He seems to obviously describe Reality Zero, aka the Fortnite map, since the 0 point is where every reality came from. Not only that, but the 0 point has access to every universe. It's not far-fetched that it could take a location and put it on the island. But there you have it. That's why the Daily Bugle is still on the map, and I believe that until they don't get the town back into the Spider-Man universe, it will be here for a while. But I'm getting sidetracked here. Let's talk about the more obvious map changes, followed by the ones that may not be caught on first glance. First of all, the bottom left of the map has been altered due to the exposed 0 point on the west side of Loot Lake, where the collider previously was. This new biome is the fungi biome, for the lack of a better term. Oops, wrong gameplay, sorry. At the center of the entire biome is a location called Reality Falls, which includes waterfalls, mushrooms, and other fungi-infested buildings, but more importantly, there is a reality tree, which bloomed after it's harvested its power from the 0 point. It's so big and has a beautiful look to it. It's so big, in fact, that the roots underground reached as far as Logjam Lumberyard, and the tree has started to bloom, which means that the reality seeds have been scattered around this biome. But more on that later in the video. If you walk inside the tree, you will see some parts of the tree are glowing, and if you're quiet, you may hear some ambience noises coming from the tree. Hear that? That's a beautiful noise of up the map. Anyway, the biome has a jungle feel to it, with dark green grass and trees that have purple leaves on them and giant fungus infestation. It's so bad, in fact, that Greasy Grove has suffered mass destruction due to the fungus infestation. So many buildings, including the infamous taco restaurant, has been destroyed. The first half of it is just on top of a mushroom. Who knows, maybe they'll fix the restaurant one day and bring back Der Burger. The alterations to the map brought back some structures from the past chapters, like one of the buildings from Dusty Depot back in Chapter 1, the wooden chair from Shifty Shafts from Chapter 1, and the shark-shaped rock from the shark back in Chapter 2, Season 2. Remember when I said that the roots reached Logjam Lumberyard? Well, it turns out that wherever the roots reach, it might alter the reality of that location. That's why Logjam Lumberyard was altered into Logjam Ludus, which changes its POI every game. My first game in Logjam Ludus had a cowboy-themed POI, kind of what they had back in Chapter 1 Season 10, something called Tilted Town. The other locations are a pirate-themed POI, which features a bunch of buildings and ships that are being built, a Roman-type POI, which has been inspired by the Colossal Colosseum from Chapter 2 Season 5. There has been also talks about an Atlantis POI, but I haven't seen one yet, so let me know in the comments down below if I missed it. Honestly, the way they made Logjam is very cool. Sure, we most likely won't get to see Logjam Lumberyard again, but the way it changes POIs every game makes it a unique location, which is pretty cool. Going a little bit south from Logjam is my worst nightmare. From Covert Cavern to Command Cavern has now turned into Wraith Cave. Since Camp Cuddle got basically removed by the reality alteration, Cuddle team leader, or whoever's in charge, decided to move into the cave and turn it into a never-ending party. Not only is there a lot of graffiti and different coloring on structures inside the cave, but there is also loud music and a roller coaster made out of what looks to be scraps left from the war. They also managed to implement the slipstreams from Chapter 1 Season 9 into the roller coaster by making it a little better, but honestly the entire roller coaster is very obnoxious in my opinion. Also, ballers are back. I mean, of course, how are you gonna make a roller coaster without ballers? They have a boost now and a battery which will make them unusable unless you go to a charging station, which I don't know where they are exactly. They're somewhere around the map. I'm just happy happy that they're not as annoying as they used to be. Going back to when I said graffiti, remember when I said graffiti? I don't remember when I said graffiti. The loopers, or whoever really lives on the island, has decided to graffiti on every single IO structure. Whether it'll be the blimp that's far away from the shore of Condo Canyon or some other destroyed IO outpost around the map. They graffitied on everything. Heck, the foundation statue that has been broken since the last season has been graffitied on. But do you remember during the collision event that we destroyed the fortress with a beam? Yeah, guess what it turned into? Come on, guess. Yeah, I'll give you some time. You can pause the video, just guess. BAM! That's all what is left of. A shitty drill that has been sprayed over with a bunch of graffiti and turned into a town with Christmas lights hung on it. It looks like a fucking Diglett. Some other changes around the map. The buildings east of Condo Canyon have been partially destroyed after the mech lost one of its armor pieces and it conveniently landed in that area. Skeletal remains of the Clawbow was found south of Crackshot Cabin, which makes me want to uninstall the game. Since Tilted has possibly suffered the most destruction because of the war, it seems that the construction to repair Tilted has started, but it has been announced that some of the buildings in Tilted would turn into the block, where players can submit community-made buildings into Epic Games for them to maybe be featured in Tilted, like they did with the block back in Chapter 1. Also, tornadoes are back, so yay, I guess. Overall, the changes to the map were amazing. The last season was pretty bad in that field since all we got was just a bunch of floating blimps, but this season has a lot to offer. I personally like the fungi biome, although I am terrified of what the reality tree might destroy on the map with its roots. I'm also not a big fan of all the graffiti everywhere. It's very obnoxious and a little too much, but it's tolerable. As for Rave Cave, the entire thing looks good, but it's just not my favorite place. Ever since Covert Cavern became a location, I really didn't like it there, in my opinion. But I'll give this category a 4 out of 5. The changes to the map were awesome, and I'm excited what's in store throughout the season, but Rave Cave and the graffiti everywhere kinda ruins it for me. Combat and mechanics is a really hard topic to cover because of it being in a constant changing state. Hey, wait, I feel like I've said this line somewhere. Anyway, for starters, the sliding mechanic has been improved. If you slide, say, from a shallow ledge, you will continue sliding rather than stopping, and if you stop sliding, you can continue the momentum afterwards, letting you b-hop in the game. In this season, they changed the meta. For instance, there are some new... Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? Yo, what's up? Yo, Julian, I'm you from the future, man. They got rid of the MK7 and the drum shotgun. Really? Let's go! Going over to the Fortnite patch notes and looking at the list of weapons that are currently returning, both the MK7 and the drum shotgun are not there, and judging by the fact that I haven't seen both of them in games since Chapter 3 Season 2, I could probably assume that they got vaulted, which makes the game so much tolerable in terms of the shitty meta back in Chapter 3 Season 2. Anyway, going back to what I was going to say, in this season they changed the meta a lot. For instance, besides the drum shotgun and the MK7, there are some weapons that are leaving the game, such as the thermal scoped assault rifle, thermal scoped revolver, and remote explosives, which is, you know, pretty nice, but it's a shame to see the thermal guns getting removed, since they were actually quite fun to use, but oh well. The weapons that are returning this season are the sidearm pistol, revolver, auto shotgun, striker pump shotgun, stinger SMG, combat SMG, assault rifle, striker burst rifle, heavy sniper rifle, grenade, firefly jar, harpoon gun, some exotics listed on the screen, shockwaves, cowcatchers, and repair tools, which isn't a bad pool of weapons per se, but I still wish we had some other weapons, like the hunting rifle. Now going over to the new weapons, let's start off with the new shotgun, the 2-shot shotgun. The 2-shot shotgun is a semi-automatic 2-round burst shotgun. The weapon will fire 2 shots per trigger, which makes it a 1/6 of a drum shotgun. And with 8 bullets in the magazine, the weapon could deal up to 69 damage per shot. The weapon is very deadly at close range, more deadly than the striker pump if you hit your 2 shots right. But unlike the drum shotgun, the shotgun itself has a major drawback. Since the fire rate is 1.49 at its fastest, it could make you vulnerable to attacks between each burst. This weapon is obviously a downgrade to the drum shotgun, but the drum shotgun was actually broken, and I prefer this weapon since it rewards you with hitting your shots right and has a major downside which gives you a risk of some sort when using this weapon. In my last video, I saw some comments complaining about the SMG meta, and while I can agree that the spray meta can be annoying to deal with, especially in zero build, I don't see an issue with them. They are just fast-firing semi-automatic weapons that should deal a lot of damage in mid to close range. So to counter that, hold your distance between you and the enemy player. Okay, you know what? I changed my mind. The SMGs need a nerf. On to the new assault rifle. The Hammer assault rifle is a fast-firing assault weapon with a low upward recoil pattern, and with 20 bullets in the magazine, it could deal up to 35 damage per shot. One of its drawbacks is that the magazine size is very small compared to the other assault rifles. Personally, I find this weapon really good for just finishing off players that are running away from you in a fight. So this weapon is really good for what it can offer. These new weapons are meant to replace the MK7 and the drum shotgun, since the Hammer AR is basically a slower MK7 without a scope, and the 2-shot shotgun is a nerfed version of the drum shotgun, and I quite like these replacements. It makes the game more fair, and the broken meta that was practically here from Chapter 3 Season 1 is just gone now. Another weapon that came with the season is the DMR, which is a semi-automatic fast-firing marksman rifle. It has a scope that lets you aim down sights, so it works like the MK7 but has a slower firing rate. With 10 bullets in the magazine, it deals up to 58 damage per shot. If you ask me, that's a little too much. It may have a slower bullet travel, but overall, it's not a bad drawback. If I was Epic, I would balance it out a little by decreasing the damage on the weapon, because the DMR in my opinion can deal too much damage. If you paid close attention to the trailer for this season, there was a lot of stuff shown that wasn't added to the game right away, like the Ripsaw launcher, the Darth Vader NPC, or the Grappler glove. So I'll talk about this briefly. The Grappler glove is very similar to the Spider-Man web shooters from Chapter 3, Season 1. The main difference being that the amount of uses are 30 instead of 80. I've seen some people say to increase the uses, but I don't know if I want it to be another season of powerful mobility tools becoming the meta. And Epic luckily decreased the uses from 30 to 10 in competitive mode, so good work Epic. Darth Vader is now on the map. At the start of every game, his ship will land in a random location. Once landed, he will have 2 stormtroopers wandering around him, and if you shoot them, you can engage in a fight with them, like a normal NPC would. Darth Vader is considered the most powerful boss in Fortnite history. He can use the Force, dash on you, throw his lightsaber, and much more. When you finally kill him, he drops his lightsaber, which is pretty cool to use. The weapon is as balanced as it should be, and they made Darth Vader quite a difficult boss to beat compared to the Gunner from Chapter 3, Season 1. I don't know much about the Ripsaw launcher, although I know that it spawns only on the factory north to Logjam. The weapon launches a saw at people, dealing 60 damage per shot, but it only has 3 saws in the magazine and could only store up to 12 saws at max. It has a fire rate of 1.5 and the reload time is 3.5 seconds, so it's pretty balanced for what it can do. Overall, the weapon pool this season was really good. The SMG spray meta can get annoying, especially in zero build, but overall it isn't as bad as the last 2 seasons. One problem I have with the combat is that a lot of items that were shown haven't been added to the season right after the season started, which makes Epic look really lazy. Usually whatever they tease in the trailer is already out at the start of the season, but now they tease things that haven't been added yet, so either don't tease it in the trailer and tease it when you're done with it, or don't tease it at all. I'll give this category a 3.5 out of 5. The improvements are there, it's just that the first week and a half had only half of the items that were promised, which takes away the 1.5 from the rating. But in general, the combat this season was very good. Earlier we talked about the changes to the map, but what does it mean? Well, in the trailer we saw a mysterious being looking at the reality tree from an orb of some sort, and considering the fact that the roots are spreading throughout the island and altering certain locations, could it mean that the reality tree is possibly being controlled by an unknown entity to do dirty deeds? Too early to tell, but from what I know, the reality tree took its power from the 0 point by presumably taking in the water that the infinite energy was flowing through. Since the tree bloomed, the reality tree started spewing out reality seeds, which serves the purpose of spawning the reality sapling when thrown on the ground. Once planted, the reality sapling stays on the same spot until the player decides to plant somewhere else. The sapling has weird looking fruits on it that when interacted with drops weapons of rarity depending on how good the tree is, healing items and gold bars. The reality tree also has slurp mushrooms around the sapling, so free shields for anyone. You increase the rarity of your weapons by weeding the plant land at least once every 24 real hours, and then the rarity can go from uncommon to mythic. You can stay on whatever rarity you want, however, other players can also destroy the reality sapling, so you have to be careful about where you place it. Also, boulders have been recently added to the game. They are similar to those timber trees that fall after they get broken off, but they're boulders, obviously. If you break what's under the boulder, it will tumble in the opposite direction of where you hit it. Damage is dealt depending on how much velocity the boulder has, which can go from 1 to 9,999 HP, but it could never go that fast on the map, so usually it deals about 150 damage, which is still pretty good. Epic also made wolves and boars rideable, which allows the player to move or jump in any direction and sprint with the animal's stamina. The stamina bar can be only refilled with meat, however. You can use your pickaxe and weapons, which leads us to my first reaction to that information. Oh shit!
What? Oh, we can ride it somehow. I think you need to tame it first.
Recently, Epic added back the chug cannon into the weapon pool, which has an infinite healing source of chug splashes. Of course, over time, but you could quite literally survive in the storm thanks to the cannon. So Epic implemented a new mechanic called the Storm Sickness. If you're in the storm for 7 minutes, you'll get a warning to leave the storm immediately, and after another minute, you will start to lose 15 HP per second, so no more camping in the storm like we used to. Overall, the wildlife in Fortnite has been improved thanks to this season. This is way better than Chapter 2 Season 6 or Chapter 3 Season 1. The reality sapling allows you to access weapons more easily. The boulder allows the players to find another way to fight their enemies, in a very comic way, may I add. And making some animals rideable is funny to me. I'll give this category a 4 out of 5. The one thing I didn't like about this category is that the season feels similar to the Primal season back in Chapter 2 Season 6, which makes me wonder if Epic copied their own previous ideas and recycled it, but other than that, it was quite good. This season's Battle Pass came out with more spam collabs, as Epic usually does to get more people to buy the Battle Pass for this season. The Battle Pass had 2 collabs, that being Indiana Jones and Darth Vader? What the fuck? These 2 characters have no canonical correlation between each other. The Battle Pass this season is very mediocre. Besides the 2 collab monsters that make no sense, we got a Singularity copy, this man uses too many bandages. Does he even contribute to the Fortnite lore? A pick-me girl, and oh, what a nice, pretty lady.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg. Why won't you die?
There's also this skin called Snappy, which lets you assemble him however you want. But let's be real here, he kinda looks like Silver Chariot from JoJo's. The one thing that I like that isn't even in the Battle Pass is the Victory Umbrella this season, which looks awesome compared to the last 2 seasons. Overall, the Battle Pass is very mediocre and all over the place. If you're a guy who always buys the Battle Pass just for the sake of collecting skins, then go for it. But if you're a guy who plays for the very first time, I wouldn't recommend this season's Battle Pass. But it all comes down to preference, you know? So I'll give this category a 2.5 out of 5. The umbrella was cool, but I didn't like the skins and the cosmetics in the Battle Pass. It's all down to preference, so it's just all my opinion. In the end, Epic has improved on a lot of things for this season. They added more changes to the map, they changed the meta in a better direction, and added more features that makes the game more fun. The overall score came to 3.7 out of 5. This season has been rated higher than Chapter 3 Season 1 and Chapter 3 Season 2, which I consider being the best season in Chapter 3 so far. And I recently got a comment on my latest video, which kind of says something about the new season, but I want to kind of expand on it a little bit further. Quote, I feel like I'm catching on Fortnite making the game accessible to the least common denominator. The game isn't as creative as it was back in Chapter 2. I would love to see the amount of creativity in Chapter 2 Season 2, Chapter 2 Season 3, or Chapter 2 Season 4, and the rest of Chapter 2. And it's a lot harder to get wins, recycling older content from previous seasons, and the game is so predictable now. End quote. And while I don't agree with the fact that it's harder to get wins, Epic is slowly starting to recycle its own content. And I believe it's not intentional because of the fact that they add so much stuff to the game that it's gonna be hard not to recycle old content. The best example I could give of recycled content is as recently as this season with the grappling glove. and the whole theme of this season is eerily similar to the Primal season with better optimizations. And that is just one of plenty examples that I could give, but we don't have that much time. I still stand by the fact that Epic is adding too much stuff, but some things are good, like the sliding mechanic. And don't get me wrong, this season is cool, but if they start adding items such as the MK7 or other broken weapons items or anything that makes the game feel overwhelming, then it could quite literally ruin the entire season. That's why I liked the previous season at first, before Epic made it unbearable to play. But that's just my opinion on this matter. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. As for now, I'm out. This season was a good start, and I hope that Epic plays their cards right to make this season the best that we've ever seen.